gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
An entertainer steps into the light the way a lighthouse rises above a dark sea. Steady, bright, and built for storms no one else can see. While the audience only sees the glow, the performer carries the weight of every wave crashing quietly against the shore. On the stage, they become a mirror and a mask at the same time, reflecting the audience's joy while hiding the cracks in their own armor. Every laugh, every note, every story is a small piece of themselves handed over like kindling to keep someone else warm. For a few moments, strangers forget their burdens and breathe a little easier beneath the glow of that borrowed light. And when the curtain falls, the crowd walks away with lighter hearts, never realizing the entertainer stayed behind to gather the pieces of the magic they gave away. I'm Kevin Donaldson, always here with Mike Felice, and welcome to the Suffering Podcast. If you're a fan of overcoming adversity and overcoming suffering, then we're for you, because that's what we do here, and that's the stories that we highlight. So do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, please comment, ring the bell so you can get notified of all of our new content, and now you can join. And of course, follow us on all social media so you can find out what we're up to when we're up to it. This is an episode I've been waiting for months and months and months. I usually don't schedule that far out, but I saw this person on... You were connected to Mike Marino, but I saw you and you're like, I kind of like that energy and I want to speak to you. And we're sitting down with Frankie Anne to talk about the suffering of an entertainer, because that's how you spent your life, giving people joy, making people smile. Thank you so much for coming in.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I can't wait to sit down. I've been waiting for months to sit down and talk to you, because you just got that smile where you're like, okay, I feel good now.
I'm so excited. I'm so happy to be here. It's a great studio.
Before we get into anything, so a big shout out to our marquee sponsor. That's Toyota of Hackensack. We don't trust anybody as police, and we certainly don't trust anybody as podcasters, but we do trust the guys over at Toyota Hackensack. So if you're looking for a car, go to toyotahackensack.com and let them find you a car, but don't forget to tell them the Suffering Podcast sent you. Then go over to the Suffering Podcast and get yourself some Dented Ace coffee. 100% of the proceeds go to Dented Development Project, so we can help repair dents caused by suffering in first responders, veterans, and their families. And it's a great cup of coffee. Had mine on the way in, as usual. So Frankie Anne, we always start out the show the same way. We take a question from our audience, get things rolling, get things moving. This question comes from Hardly Working. What does success cost that people rarely talk about? You know, there is a cost to everything in life, and you know this better than anybody. So tell me one thing that you think that success will cost you that nobody ever talks about.
The fantasy, the dream that you thought it was going to be. Yeah, that's the one thing. I remember moving from New Jersey to Hollywood many years ago, and driving down, getting in my rental car at the time and driving down Ventura Boulevard with a convertible, and I'm like, oh, I'm in Hollywood. This is it. Looking up at the palm trees and the sunshine, and then doing the work, and then getting to meet the people, and then it just became part of living and life. And then doing big jobs, really great jobs that I'm super grateful for. And as I mentioned to you off camera earlier, it was one opportunity. I went home and I sat there and I went, it's not what I thought it was going to be. Grateful.
It doesn't feel good sometimes when people are looking at you and they're judging you by however many seconds they watched you on camera. And it's very hollow. But there's for me, and I don't have the level of success anywhere near what you have, but for me, it was like you become bedazzled by this sparkly, shiny thing that's right in front of you. And for a moment, you are to the moon and you feel good, and it becomes almost addictive. And then the inevitable downfall where something won't work, something doesn't come through, you don't get this part, you don't get this audition, this doesn't happen. And then all of a sudden you fall really hard, and you're like, well, I guess they don't love me anymore. And what you realize over time is the love that you got in that momentary success isn't real. There's nothing real about it. It's hollow, it's empty. You got a bunch of people around you that are trying to use you as a branding strategy. They're seeing something that you did, that you worked your ass off for, and they want a piece of it, so they're going to try to take your soul in order to get it. And then they just try to climb over your back to get to where they're going.
And they have no idea how hard you work. They
Right.
don't get it. And you're bringing this up, but it's bringing me way back to my very first, probably first like moment in success, where I was with a recording group at the time, and I was young, and there were these two other girls. They were younger. It was 3-girl pop group, and we had records on the radio, and we were doing the record was a big hit, and the first time, and I had come into the group once the group had already been established, so. We were doing a show, and the record hits, and you hear boom, and the audience just goes crazy, wah! And we were told, do not touch hands. They're going to reach out for you on the stage. Do not. And I'm just like you've met me briefly, but I'm a hey, how are you kind of gal, you know. And I forgot what they said during the show, and I reached out because they were reaching just to be there with them, and they wanted to pull me, and security went boom, grabbed my hand back, but that feeling of that energy scared me. And later, as I matured, I realized we have deified actors and celebrities and athletes, and we're just human beings. And by the way, you are as successful as I am. You're a happy man.
I'm doing what I love. Okay, I'm doing what I love, and that's the level of success that I want to reach. My success level at 20 didn't look like this. My success level at 50, yeah, this is a little bit more my speed. In the end of when you pass on, like we're all going to pass on. Hopefully, that's a long time in the future. You're going to have a legacy, and your legacy is going to be stamped in the world of entertainment. You know, so you're going to, in one way or another, live on forever. And, you know, I have kids. I have young kids. I have a 13-year-old and a 16-year-old. I just want them to be proud of me. I try my best not to embarrass them, which is not something. There's some things I do. I put out these videos called, they're AI generated. It's called Real Toilet Dramas, and it's potty humor because I find potty humor funny because I'm 5 years old. But their friends in school come up to him, hey, I saw your dad on social media, and he was sitting on a toilet, and it blew up. And I just look at my youngest boy, and I'm like, oh, man, I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry I'm your dad. You guys deserve better.
That's funny. That's very funny.
So, hardly working. Thank you for sending that question in. Keep sending in your question, and we'll try to get them on the air. So, Frankie Anne, you're all over the place. Like, I see you all over the place. You do such a great job at presenting yourself, and your smile, the way you smile is infectious. I don't know if you realize that or not. You do. It's an infectious smile. See? I'm going to put it on display. So why don't you give our audience a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, how you grew up?
Oh, I grew up in New Jersey. I'm a Jersey girl originally, and grew up in a family of 5 kids. So there were 7 of us in the home. My mom gave birth to 5, as I say, my mom gave birth to 5 children born in 4 years, 2 intellectually disabled and a set of twins. So all you parents out there, I bow to you, because I'm still trying to figure out how to take care of myself, let alone a bunch of kids. Got a dog once and realized, wow.
It's completely on-the-job training.
Yeah.
That's all it is, because I didn't know anything, and I've made so many mistakes as a parent, but I got to tell you, it's one of the best jobs I ever had.
Yeah, I can't manage.
Interactions with sexual assault victims are on the rise. Yet training remains scarce.
Every day, someone finds the courage to say the words they've been holding in for years.
And every day, someone is standing on the other side of that moment. The question is,
Will they know what to do next?
trauma doesn't come with instructions. It doesn't look like the way we expect.
It doesn't respond to force. It responds to understanding.
Sherry Ulsip, survivor turned global trauma expert.
Kevin Donaldson, retired law enforcement leader and advocate for real change. Together, we bridge a gap most people never see.
We train officers. We educate communities.
We change how first responders listen, question, and lead. Because the first response can shape a lifetime.
This isn't a theory.
This is lived experience meeting leadership. And when compassion replaces confusion, healing begins.
Sherry Ulsop and Kevin Donaldson, changing the way we respond so survivors are heard.
I went to Columbia High School in Maplewood, New Jersey, where they had a program of arts that was just unbelievable. There was a dance program, and I always looked up to the musicals when I was growing up, and movie musicals and Broadway. I had a dream I wanted to be on Broadway. That was one of my big, big dreams. And I also wanted to, I loved classic old films, and one of the ones I loved was Busby Berkeley, and like kids were like, who's that? I'm like, no, you got to watch these old movies, man. They're really just the choreography. So it was dance and choreography that really hit me, though I was playing accordion because we had to. My twin and I became world accordion
Oh,
champions.
you're one of the twins.
Oh yes, I'm one of the twins.
There's another Frankie Anne out there.
No, that's not Frankie. It's Vicky. So I was really taken by music and dance, and the high school had a dance program, and the woman named Janet Hicks was the teacher, and she created a real high level. You had to audition to get into it, and I did, and she became a great mentor, and she was incredible for me. She saw the gift in me.
Were you able to mesh the old style that you found so infectious and so attractive to you? Were you able to mesh that with the new style? Because one of my earliest, I had a crush on Olivia Newton-John, like most young guys, and she did a movie called Xanadu. Okay, one of my favorite movies ever, and in that movie is Gene Kelly. So Gene Kelly, the old style dancer, the soft shoe on the ground, and they do a song called "Whenever You're Away from Me." And you can watch Gene Kelly, who's an old man at this point, doing this dance, and Olivia Newton-John, who's this young pop star, trying to keep up with him. And she couldn't do it. It's a great song, but she couldn't do it.
Well, to answer your question, yes. And actually, fast forward, when I moved to Los Angeles, I created a show called Frankie's Gypsy Roses. And we called it neo-burlesque. And I don't know if you remember the Pussycat Dolls in the early 2000s. That's when it was happening. And
5 pretty girls on stage? You think I remember?
Well, that was the beginning of neo-burlesque. But I went a little further with the show itself. And if you've seen the movie Burlesque, it was more on that level. And I always say, I bet you those writers were in the audience for Frankie's Gypsy Roses. I always said that. So that's when I was able to dig back into classic burlesque and give it a twist. So everything we had was somewhat a striptease within the choreography, but classy, but real classy.
I always picture old world burlesque like airplane nose art from World War II. You know what I'm talking about? Those pictures, and it screams sexuality without being X-rated. And that's so years ago when it wasn't in Atlantic City. That's where I grew up. So they had the Ocean Club, which used to be the Revel. And when it first opened up, it was the Revel, and they had a burlesque show. And I'm like, I'm with, she was my girlfriend at the time. She wasn't my wife yet. And I'm sitting there, and we just sat there, and I couldn't stop watching, not because it was sexually charged, because it was something about it. I can't even put my finger on it, but I had to watch it. These girls were talented. They knew what they were doing. But the way they moved their body and how they moved their body, it wasn't so much what they wore, it was how they just navigated the stage.
They call that the it factor. I had many girls work with me in the show, and there were those that you could not describe it, but had that it factor. And neo-burlesque, like burlesque, is about the tease. It's not about throwing it all at you. It's like anything. You want to leave some mystery. So I was able to take that old school and then put new school music with it. And it ran a year. I mean, I was hired to produce this show. It was running in Beverly Hills. And need I say where? Because you're going to go to a whole nother level, but it wasn't there. It was Larry Flint's Supper Cabaret. Now, I have to, what had happened was I was approached because I had also created a show for Showtime called Live Nude Comedy. No nudity.
Yeah, I know that show.
Yeah.
I watched it. It was very false advertising.
Yeah, well, Live Nude Comedy. It was burlesque and blue comedy. So you had some really great comics on there. Chris D'Elia's on there, Mike Favorman, Whitney Cumming. It was the early rise there. So I was able to, take that and we did that a different twist live. but it was very clean, and everybody would, Larry Flint. I'm like, nope, they're gone clean. It was Vegas, is the way I would, in Beverly Hills. It was a great show.
Larry Flynn was more anti-establishment, in my opinion. Like he watched which way everybody else was going, and he went the other way. He just happened to be best known for Penthouse, and that was like the antithesis to Playboy. But I think he would have done that in any realm that he was. So there was a lot of value to Larry Flint. I don't know whether he was the greatest guy in the world. Was he paralyzed at the time when
He was paralyzed. I met him a couple of times at dinner with his wife, who was his nurse, the second wife, who was his nurse and married him.
The one that what's her name played? Courtney Love played the movie. Yeah.
Like I said, the goal was classy Vegas show, because I wouldn't do any other kind of work. But when I bring up the name, everybody goes, what? In fact, talk about false advertising. I mean, we had opening night. Everybody was there expecting what they were expecting, and we had to just nip that in the butt and show them what the show was about.
It's not the first night; it's the subsequent nights that make it a success.
Yeah.
Everybody can have a shot out of a cannon moment, but for you to keep bringing audiences back, it had to be something special. But what is it about dance like that? And dancing in front of people, like that's a whole different thing. It's something that first of all, if you're over 6 foot, you should never dance. Nor should you put your hands above your head when you dance. But that's my opinion. What is it about dancing in front of people that sort of gives you that charge?
It's a discipline like no other that I have ever done, but I can equate it to athletes. It's you are an athlete. You are in the moment. If I'm doing what's called a pirouette, which is a turn, but I do triple pirouettes, which is getting 3 turns in a beat. I don't want to clap too loud on the mic here. So it's to get to that level of work takes rigorous, discipline and work. By the way, Bob Fosse was a tall man, and he was a very, very well-established dancer and choreographer.
Yeah, but then you have to get into the other realm where it's okay to do that if like I don't think straight men over 6 foot could do it.
Okay. I can give you other names, but we won't go there. But anyway, so it was something I really loved to do, but it wasn't in the cards for me to sustain, because when I broke my back, and that I shouldn't say that. I worked on it, but it wasn't enough for me. It was that shiny coin again, as a young artist, wanting more. I didn't want to be in the chorus. I wanted to be up front. And I was driven to get up front. And the way I was going to do that was to sing. So that's how I was watching, and I was like, oh, I want to do that. I love, love, love dance. And that was the motive behind me starting dance in high school, was because I was a heavy girl. And I wanted to lose weight. And I wanted to be accepted. And I wanted to be loved. And I wanted to be like everybody saw in that's what the little girl in me wanted.
Well, I think everything that we do in life wants to try on some level to appease our younger selves. If I think back to when I was a cop, my younger self would be like, wow, I get to grow up to be a cop. That's fantastic. And, as a cop, I'm like, wow, I get to grow up and be a podcaster. Like, wow, that's fantastic. So that makes complete sense to me. But, I think people got a window in just sticking with dance for a minute, the amount of work that goes into being a dancer in the advent of Dancing with the Stars. And I watched Dancing with the Stars. I got a kick out of it. But one of the things that I really enjoyed that they showed is they showed the behind the scenes work, and it's the step 1, 2, 3, 4. And all this crazy choreography. And you're like, how the hell am I going to be able to remember this? And I mean, think about going up in class and trying to memorize a speech. Well, you got to go all these different lines and remember all these different lines. Well, dance is that exponentially hard because you got to look graceful while doing it. That. And I've watched some of your older videos and you were really good.
Thank you.
Really, really good. So you broke your back?
When I started to do the singing and worked into, I had a recording studio. I was writing music. That was the next shift for me, and things were going really well. It stemmed out of that 3-girl group I was talking about, and then from being in the girl groups, I wanted to be solo, and I had a writing partner. We were doing really well together, and then I had the opportunity to be the opening act for a really big group at the time in the 90s called CNC Music Factory, and they had a record called Everybody Dance Now.
Still played at every sporting event, and they're still making royalties on that one.
Yeah, in fact, wow, Route 46, just had a flashback. The first time I heard that record, it's called Stand Up. The first time I heard Stand Up on the radio was right after it's before I was touring with them. Right after, it was kind of like a precursor to what was going to happen for me. I didn't realize that at the time. And I'm driving on Route 46 alone, and I put the windows down, and I blast the radio. I'm like, that's me on the radio. It was coming in after CNC Music Factory's Everybody Dance Now. I was so excited. So I ended up getting to tour with them, open up for them. The record was doing well. I did some TV shows. I did a show out of, I did a show with Joan London. She had her own talk show at the time. And then I did a show called Dance Party USA, which was dancing on air out of Philly, and went to USA Network as Dancing USA. And then I went and I was in Los Angeles doing the show. Really excited. Atlantic was flirting with me as a label, and they were there that night. And physically, I would say I was like a cross between Tina Turner and a gymnast, like crazy stuff physically. And that night we were at a party, and I felt fire in my back and down my legs. And the next morning I couldn't walk.
Did you fall? Was it an event or just?
No, they found that I was born with something called, it's like I can't even say it right now, spondylolisthesis, and where you're born with slight fractures that over time, when they found them then, they were quarter-inch fractures. My spine was cut in half in 2 vertebrae, quarter-inch fractures, which obviously were old, but because of my muscular system, because I was so strong, the muscular system held the skeletal system in place until the tour, and when it was really stressful.
What's that feel like to get that close to something you've been working towards since high school?
It's heartbreaking.
I mean,
It's I'm feeling it now. It's really heartbreaking.
Because now you put your whole identity into this whole passion, or what you think is your passion, and it just, in 1 second, in one heartbeat, it just goes right away. It's like, there's a great line in Field of Dreams. Burt Lancaster's talking. He goes, they said, what was it like to play in the major leagues for, one inning? And he goes, it was like coming this close to your dream and watch him pass by you like a stranger in the crowd. And I have to imagine that's what it feels like. It had to be heartbreaking.
It was terrible. It was
aside from the pain,
though. Yeah, and a body brace, and I remember. Yes, it was very painful. It was emotionally devastating, though I wouldn't be where I am today if it didn't happen.
Well, so you're down in the dumps, and for a while you get a free get out of jail free card to play a victim for a certain amount of time. I think you earn it. The longer you work for a passion and you watch it just disappear in front of your eyes in a moment, you can sit there for a minute and kind of mourn the loss of your love. It's no different than losing someone who you hold dear to your heart. But how long did you sit in that dark place?
About 7 months. Yeah, about 7 months. And then I realized I'm going to get out of this. Doctors were saying things that I didn't want to hear and didn't want to believe. And I was committed to doing what I needed to do. I remember going to a gym in Chatham and walking on a treadmill at 1 mile an hour, literally just taking the step and holding on and taking that step, and built that up and built that up. And I said, you know what? When this is done, I'm going to do something different. And I did. I went out to Hollywood.
Well, you step off stage for that last time. Did you recognize that was like, that's the problem? Like,
no.
I coach football, right? So I tell all my players, I said, there's going to be a time when you step off of this field as a player and you're never going to step back on. Hopefully it's by choice, but very likely it's not going to be your choice. I went to work one day as a police officer. I never went back because I was in a shooting, right? Unexpected. So I can sympathize with you on that, where stuff just gets taken away from you. Now you're out in this this place where you're like, what the hell do I do now? This was my vocation. This was my love. This was my passion. And now it's just gone. But to pick yourself up, I am a huge believer that you're always pushed in the right direction. You're pushed in the direction where you need to be. So while you were successful as a dancer and you were successful as a singer, maybe that wasn't for you. Maybe it was a conduit in order to
It
get
wasn't
there.
over. It wasn't my last walk.
No?
No, I came back. But here's how I came back. I went to Los Angeles to act. I ended up on a soap opera for a minute. I got work as an actress. While I'm working on a soap opera, I was starting to audition for musical theater again. I got physically fit again. I got myself back in shape. But I was focused on film and television, only to get a phone call once saying, they want you for Anita, West Side Story, the role of my dreams. And I was like, well, where? It was like a season where they were playing all over the country in all the theaters. And I said, wait a minute, I've been auditioning for this like for the last year and not getting the job. And she said, no, it's the tour. You got to go back to New York to rehearse. You got 2 weeks and you're on stage. They were already on tour. I was stepping in because I was on TV. I was on TV now.
Oh, you got a little
Welcome
clout.
to Hollywood. Yeah.
Got a little clout.
Welcome to Hollywood. I said, I've been working my whole life to get on Broadway. And I had to get out of New York, go to Hollywood, get on a soap opera to go back. And so I ended up back on, and I did the role of my dreams, and I was able to dance Anita.
So let's go by the soap opera. What was it like filming a soap opera? Because they look like a grind. And I know, you know who Sean Kanan is?
Mm-hmm.
So I know Sean, and he's very successful at being on a soap opera, but it's like a constantly moving thing. It's like this. It's like an organism.
Yes, I was a regular. I wasn't a star of the show. It was Sunset Beach. It was a spelling show at the time, and it is an organism, and they have their rhythm, and they get their changes, and that is an acting lesson in itself to be on it.
It's like a boot camp.
Absolutely, really strong actors.
And you know what, you sharpen your chops, and that eventually led you to the role that you wanted on Broadway. What's different from Broadway than being on TV?
It wasn't on Broadway. It was a tour.
It was a tour. Okay.
But the difference, energy, about 100 watts in your heart. Difference. In fact, when I was looking for an agent in Hollywood, they're like, Frankie, you got to dial it down to right here when you're talking on camera. This energy here right now because we're having fun, but this energy right here on camera, it was like here on Broadway. It's like really big, and no, you have to really bring that energy right here, and not even nod my head. Don't move a muscle. It's all out of the eyes. If you watch a film the next time, the really strong actors, they're not moving much muscle. That's because the camera's catching.
That's Michael Caine. So Michael Caine actually said something. He goes, if you say something and I'm facing you, versus if I point here and I look over here, it takes on a completely different emotion.
Mm-hmm.
But so I've been on lower level movie sets and TV stuff, and speaking to the camera, it'll screw with your head because and I've been up on stage and I've been in front of people. It's just I would take that any day of the week and being in front of camera. I just don't. I'm not that guy.
Guess what? There's 3 of them in this room right now.
Yeah, but I can't even remember that they're here.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Like the scene is right here and we're talking, and whatever's happening behind in the booth, whatever shots he's choosing or will choose, it's up to us to do our job right here, and that's it.
Well, we get a lot of first-time people in here, and I always tell them that if I do my job correctly, you'll forget that they're here within 5 minutes. And I've been successful on that I think I've been successful every time on that. And there's a way that I do it. There's a method that I do it. How did you get yourself ready in order to take on these roles? And now, if you've been auditioning for Anita or for West Side Story in general, you were probably familiar with the script.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You knew the moves. You knew everything.
Oh, and I was obsessed with the role. I mean, in fact, the first day of pretty much even on TV, it's called like a table read, and you show up. But remember, this organism has already been in flight, and so you've got a new amoeba coming in, and they're not happy about it because now they got to work you in. They got to redo the work. So you literally get 2 weeks on a show that's already been going. They didn't know that I was already prepared, and though they're all looking at me like, oh yeah, this girl gets the job because she was on a soap opera. Let's see what she can do. So they're literally all like this. And I know body language, and I'm ready for it. And I was waiting, and I do the dialogue, and I have my accent going, and then it's time to get up and go to the piano, and I go, Puerto Rico, your heart's there. And they're all like, oh, she sings. And then after that, you got to go upstairs to the next studios to dance. Now, in my sleep. And I already knew the choreography in my head because I was watching it. So we start rehearsing with the choreographer, and there's the director and the producer in the doorway watching me, and they go, where have you been? Like, who are you? Like, I used to stand in the cold lines in New York in the winter for auditions. I go to Hollywood, I get on a soap opera for a regular role, and then I can get a call. That's how it worked.
You just said Puerto Rico, and you probably got Andrew really excited in there because he's like Puerto Rican through and through.
Yeah.
But that, you know, and you're of Italian descent?
I am.
How'd you get the Puerto Rican accent?
I'm an actress.
Ah, okay. Touche.
Yeah. I'm an actress.
The battles we fight are hard and taxing on the soul. Fighting a battle that seems impossible to win. The stressful calls that give us wounds that cannot be seen.
These moments leave scars. They leave dents. Sometimes we just need to sit and talk over coffee.
Finding a moment of peace in the comfort of decompression with those whom you share difficulties. Sharing moments with those who are the only ones who understand. Our peace comes in the quiet moments we can share with our brothers and sisters.
It's just a moment to sit, listen, and let it out. We may be dented, but we are not broken. The Suffering Podcast, Dented Ace Coffee, was created to bring the peace to the protectors. Dented Ace Coffee is a tribute to my brother Mike Falaise and all the others who couldn't find their peace. 100% of the proceeds will go directly to Dented Development Project so that we can begin to repair the dents caused by suffering in veterans, first responders, and their families. The Suffering Podcast's Dented Ace Coffee. Get yours today by visiting thesufferingpodcast.com.
What was the joy that you got out of just doing that role that you wanted? Was it to show people what you could do?
I really do believe that, you know, that little girl wanted to be, it was an insecure motive. It wasn't a healthy motive, if I'm being truly honest, right? So that little girl wanted to be loved, that little girl wanted to be recognized. But as I matured, I love the craft. So I love the craft. And by the way, earlier you mentioned something about the work. We always say, and not we, but a lot of us say, the work is in the audition. The vacation is on the set.
Oh, gosh, that's 100% true. Holy cow. God, you just spoke the language of any podcast.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've said this for years. My favorite time is when it's lights, camera, action. Because all my work, all my prep work, whether it's done or not, it don't matter. It's time to get to work. It's time to have the conversation, to have some fun and to come out on camera authentic. You know, it's like a car going downhill with no brakes. No point in steering now. It's going.
Fred Flintstone.
Yeah, that's it. It's ready to go. So the back end of the work. But see, that's the thing about any type of entertainment business. They're going to see you being on a soap opera and getting this part in West Side Story, and they're like, oh, you know, just like those producers were standing there with their hands crossed. Oh, look at this. She's here because of this, or she knows this person, and she's just trying to bring a name. They're not watching at all the preparation you did behind the scenes.
No clue.
And they're going to take, so that's a good thing because that means they underestimate you. And once you get underestimated, that gives you power.
Oh, I love when that happens. In fact, it just happened to me. I was in Florida, and we were at an event, and the band was playing, and I haven't been on stage in a bit with a band singing in a while, and the band was really good. And when you're a musician and you see good music and musicians, you want to like be part of it. So I turned to and I said, "Do you think I can sit in?" She goes, "Go ahead, ask him." So I went up on a break and I said, "Oh, hey, my name is Frankie Anne, and by the way, I'm a pro, but if you got a spot, I'd love to join you guys. You're fantastic." You could see in their eyes, they're like, "Who is this chick?" "Oh, yeah, sure." And I said, Whatever, I'll be here." And then they called me up in like 3 songs, and I get up there and I call the song and I call the key. So I'm now talking language that they understand. And then I open my mouth, and they're like, "Oh." Oh, and then they start getting close to you. So like the guitar player's like playing with you, that physical thing. And I'm like, I love that. I
Yeah.
love that when you doubt me.
Well, so I find this a lot. So because I'm a football player, I saw it all through college, all through high school and stuff. They'll underestimate me. They'll think that I'm stupid. And I'm like, okay, just keep thinking I'm stupid. Go ahead. And it was the greatest advantage I had in my career. Just keep underestimating me, and I'm going to show you something different.
Oh, it happens with me every day outside of entertainment. And just with people in business or on boards or whatever organizations I'm on, people look at you and, "Oh, come on, kid." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm your kid."
Well, you being in the entertainment business for as long as you have the burden of knowledge. You've seen the vultures circling and the sharks in the water. You've seen things that would horrify most people, because the entertainment business is probably one of the most ugly businesses I've ever touched. And like, did you know? Do you have that? Like, people just trying to get to you?
Interesting you bring that up. I was having a conversation with another actress friend of mine, and I said, "Is it just me, or do I see that this business has a dark soul?"
Ooh.
It has, there are people, I, for one, am grateful my parents raised me the way they raised me. I'm grateful that I had the wherewithal, whatever that means, whatever that is, to wake up to being aware and not feeding in. And mind you, there was moments in my life where I was naive and gullible and vulnerable, but I learned quickly. And there is a dark side because, as I keep saying, the motive, when you're in a pool with a bunch of people whose motive is to do anything to get to the top, it's dirty and dark. And I don't want to be around I want to be in the light. And so I get to, because of, as you said, having that experience, I get to pick and choose who I want to work with. And if I don't want to work on big projects, that's my choice, because I want happy. I want serenity. I want all of that in my life, which is what the cost is, if you're willing to pay that price.
So if you would have kept going with singing or dancing, pick your, or even acting, even staying on the soap opera, and you got to that ultra level, and you think you want that, right? But if you look at somebody who's at the top of the top, music, acting, they're prisoners. They become, it's like you're not a real person anymore. They can't go out of their house. Like I remember Ringo Starr was given an interview once, and he goes, "I couldn't even go down the store to get a soda. I was trapped. I was in jail."
I was in the car with a celebrity in New York, who was a star of a soap opera, very, very famous soap opera actor. And he was also a dancer, and we were doing some fun work with another choreographer out of state. And we were doing this show, and I was driving. And I had a little sports car, and it was just he and I, 2-seater. And we drove into the gate. It was an outdoor event on stage. And the fans saw him literally shake. My car was about to go over. And I said, and he was so angry. And I thought to myself, I was pretty young. I was in my early 20s at the time. And I thought, you should be grateful for this. This is what you get. You're not happy with this? And I didn't realize that's part of the price, that vulnerability, And just to circle back to a question you asked about people coming after you yes, people want to fly on your wing. By the way, if I get called to act, I do a job here and there. That skill, that craft is still with me always. I'm an artist, I can be producing and directing. Someone says, "Can you sit in and do this?" Yeah, sure. Why not? It's fun. But people do hawk you. And when I see that, I don't bother. I have a smaller circle in my life. People, I can spot that. And I'm like, oh, thanks so much. Have a good day.
Every once in a while, somebody gets through. Every once in a while,
You're right.
It happened to me. Somebody got through, and they played that role. And then when the cracks started to appear and they revealed themselves, I'm like, damn, man, I thought I was better than this. Because even with your experience, there's going to be people who get through.
I got conned.
Yeah.
And as I woke up one night and there he was on Dateline. So yeah, I got conned.
Getting conned is one thing. Getting mad at yourself for getting conned, I think, is the worst.
I was terrified.
Yeah.
I stood in front of that TV screen shaking, like as if you were holding a gun to my head now.
Was this this was a love interest?
Yeah, and but because I was producing, because he found me, he was a predator as well. He found me because I was producing, and that's how he can. You were talking about coming after you because of what you do. He didn't come after me because of who I am.
Yes.
He sought me out.
Nothing becomes real. You take two of the most famous people in the world, Elvis, I'm a big Elvis fan, and Michael Jackson. Okay, their demise was everybody said yes to him. Everybody loved him, and nothing was real. Nothing. So they just, hey, Elvis, you look good. You don't need to lose weight. Yeah, just keep taking that stuff. If you can't sleep, keep taking that. There's opiates. They're going to be good for you. Michael Jackson, hey, I can't sleep. Well, take some of this. Hey, no problem. Until you don't wake up.
Well, yeah, and I felt that the first movie I did in L.A. What can we get you, Miss Frankie? What can we get you? Would you like? I'm like, I'm just a regular girl here. I'm from Jersey. We're just like, how you doing? Can I hang out with you? Oh no, you got to come over here. You can't hang out with them. They're the lighting people. No, light people are the good people. I want to hang out with the crew. The real people. So
I got the opportunity. I did chapel with the Jets. Because my pastor is their chaplain. And so I go in there, and I got to bring my son. At the time, he was 14 years old, lives, eats, and breathes football. So he's sitting in the back, and I had to prep him. I said, look, stay in the back. Don't bother these men. They're here to worship. That's it. So he's sitting in the back, and in walks Sauce Gardner, who was the star of the New York Jets at the time. And he goes, hits me. He goes, Dad, there's Sauce Gardner. I'm like, yep, stay here. Don't do anything. Now, here's where the humanity of some of these people, the ones who really get it. Sauce Gardner saw my son in the back. He made a beeline to my son and gave him a hug, talked to him for a couple minutes, and I'm like, that's what a person's supposed to be. You're great at football, no doubt, but you got to remember what got you to the show, and what got you to the show is the love of the fans, just like my son right here. And I couldn't tell you what Sauce Gardner looked like, but I could tell you what the look on my son's face was.
oh yeah. There was a time I produced the Special Olympics celebrity golf tournament, and I was inviting celebrities to play, and I'm not going to name names, but I can tell you one big lesson was seeing the majority of those celebrities of their heart. Do you need you offer the limo, you offer the services, you treat them like no, put that money, give it to the kids, give it to one actor, A-level actor. Took it all, and then ate from the appetizers and snuck out of the event. And I thought to myself, all right, now we know. Now we know who you are. And I don't need to linger on that. I'll go to where the love is. I'll go to where the grounding is. And and there are some really great celebrities out there that are real people, and a lot of them are, but. It's just a hovering of, it's those who are making it happen. It's those who are coordinating and controlling the business aspects. They're the ones that create a lot of the dark shadows.
So Jim Brewer gave this interview, and he was on Saturday Night Live, and he was still doing comedy shows and stuff. And Dave Chappelle, who was on the rise, he saw Jim Brewer up there, and they're walking in there. I guess they're sitting in the back in the green room or something, and he walks past him. He goes, be careful, my man. I saw the way they were looking at you. They want you. Just be careful. And that was a big lesson for Jim Brewer. Now he lives close by. He's been able to maintain that level of in comedy. But I do know some people who know him well, and they said he's just a guy. That's all he is.
People are people. You get to choose how you respond to life or you want to react. I found that in emotional maturity and growing up. I got to do that. I love what I do. Like I said, I'm an artist. I love all aspects of the crafts, all crafts that I have done. The one that was most terrifying is stand-up comedy, which was the latest and most recent of my life. But it got to that place where I have been so fortunate to experience all these different aspects of it. And I stopped one day and I said, what haven't I done? It's something and I was asked to produce that show. That's when I got the bug. Showtime's live nude comedy is when I got the bug. I got to watch these comedians who were just so effortless, and the laughter and the fun. And little did I know how challenging and how much skill it really takes to make people laugh. They work their butts off on writing. You got to tell the truth. And when I started, I called a friend of mine. I said, I'm tired of talking about it. It's my bucket list. It's my bucket list. I want to just do it.
It's one of mine, too.
Really?
It is. It is. It's always been one of mine since I was a little kid. And you know what? I don't fear much. Okay, I've written songs. I have one book. Actually, that's not true. I have 4 books. One of them was a bestseller, and I got another one coming out in September. I write articles. I do all these different things, and I'm not afraid to go and do TV. Whatever, documentaries or whatever. I'm just not afraid. That's the one thing I would love to do it, but I understand the craft enough to know that when I step up on stage for the first time, I'm probably going to eat it.
You have to.
I'm going to eat it.
You have to. That's what they told me. Frankie, you have to fall flat on your face and stand up. I'm like, no, I've been an actress all these years. I know what it's like to be on stage. I've been blah, 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 blah. No, you eat it. And if you don't get to learn, because it's part of the journey, as breaking through, because no one's out there really teaching you everything. Now, the more I do it, the more I see it, the more I watch comedians like Mike, like Craig, people I get to work with and tour with. And it's an effortless journey, but they've worked their tail off to write everything in a certain manner with certain skills, and people are enjoying it. And then they make it look like a conversation. That's the key. It's really making it look like a conversation.
Nate Bargatze's the best at that.
Oh, he's really good.
His timing is, and I know the timing steps of comedy. His timing is probably the best timing I've ever seen in my life. It's like, it's almost like a Rodney Dangerfield type of timing. Just he hits everything so perfectly when he gets up there. But that comes from years of work.
Well, that's why, yeah, it does take years of work. It takes years of work because you don't go like I did for West Side Story for 2 weeks in rehearsal. You don't rehearse. You're on your own. Me personally, I walk around, I do my dialogue, and then you get on stage, and now what does that room look like? What does that room feel like? When they say, play to the room could be this big, right? Or it could be a huge theater like I did with Mike in December. It was sold out 1,000 people. Oh, you were going to come, but you didn't make that show.
I was traveling.
That was amazing.
Is that the one he did in the high school auditorium?
No, that was his special. No, this was in a theater down in South Jersey.
Oh, the one in Pittman.
Yes, Pittman.
I know
Pittman
exactly.
Theater.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And I was there not that long after then for a benefit for a friend of mine.
Great theater, beautiful space. And that show, for example, the crowd was right there, and Mike just charges it. Mike's just amazing, but the crowd is right there. And if you are present and you have your stuff ready to go, and you've already rehearsed your steps for the football field, you're not thinking about what you're doing when you're out there doing it. It's now that rote. You just let it go and let it flow, like we're doing here right now. I mean, though you have 300,000 notes in front of you. I'm just kidding.
Which I haven't checked.
Just kidding.
I haven't checked one of them.
He's not at all.
Okay, here's one. How many times did you fall? Yeah. So you see what I'm saying?
Okay, so I was known to be the girl who loses something on stage all the time. And I just watched the video when I was giving you some clips. I watched the video of Smokey Joe's Cafe. There's a Jailhouse Rock, Elvis song.
Sure.
It's part of the show. And in the show, we're singing, and then my partner picks me up at the hips and lifts me up. And my shoe goes flying into the audience. It's buckled on, but it literally comes off my foot. And fast forward, West Side Story. I'm doing the dance at the gym. The guys go, shh, lift me up on the shoulders. I go with my feet, and one of the shoes goes flying into the audience. Fell once, and I'll never do it again if I can avoid it.
You're up on stage doing comedy, and you hit that symphony note. You know what I'm talking about, where your timing is perfect. Because there's some nights you could do it the same way as you did it the night before, and it doesn't hit, and then this time for whatever reason it hits. But when you hit that symphony note, what is internally going on inside of you?
If you are aware of it, you're not present.
It's a good point. Okay.
Yeah. So the same with any skill, singing, dancing, acting. You work it, and then you let it go, and you're like here, right? So you're the audience, and I'm doing my bit. If I am connected, it's connecting. If I'm disconnected, it's falling. So obviously the work has to, the writing has to be there, the jokes have to be there. That being said, the performance is really about connecting. And as I said earlier, you play to the room. So if I'm in a small room, like I did a show in a smaller club, I do a bit about dating a psychopath and finding out, and I do this bit that in a bigger room is having the loved ones look at each other and looking deep into their eyes, and I play the joke out. But that doesn't work in a smaller room, so I'll play it directly to a guy. And I'll look and that works. But that took me trial and error. I didn't have a rehearsal to figure that one out. I just knew one night that the original way I wrote it wasn't working in the smaller rooms, but it was working in the bigger rooms, so I shifted it. And there's the experience. Yeah.
What I'm seeing in you is you have guts to follow your dream. Like, you're an idea person, okay? You have these grand ideas. Most people have grand ideas. That doesn't make you unique in any way, shape, or form. The difference in you and what makes you unique is you're like, okay, well, let's do it. I got, what's going to be the worst thing that can happen? And you have to fall a couple times, like you said.
Yeah, the worst thing that can happen is what people ask me when I go to, what are you doing? You're successful. I had a successful business producing and here, and I was doing shows here, and I was leaving it all behind to go to Los Angeles. I said, well, what's the worst thing that could happen? I end up a go-go dancer with a pole. I'll make a lot of money. I mean, when you really stop and you think about what's the worst thing that can happen, it's not so bad. So I'm not afraid. And I have to tell you, facing the fear and walking through it wasn't easy for me early on. 9/11 affected me greatly. And after 9/11, I realized I wasn't tapping into that part of my love. I was doing the other thing, the acting and all that. So I went back to Los Angeles, and I decided, if I'm going to do this, I want to do it with the best musicians in town. So I started going to jams. But this was just because I wanted to be fulfilled. But it was having to go past the fear and realizing how grateful I am. I mean, losing people that you love in a flash, that was a turnaround for me to get back into music, and breaking my back was a turnaround for me to change and shift.
Well, you got to think about the people who were on that plane that crashed into the tower, or the people who perished in the towers. How much stuff did they leave on the table? They had one more moment. They went to bed the night before saying, I'll get to it tomorrow. I'll fulfill that dream next week. And then there's not a next week. There's not a tomorrow. So, there's nothing worse than getting into your later years and living with some sort of regret that you didn't try something.
That's right.
And the key thing that I tell my kids, and they're like, Dad, you'll do anything. And I'm like, yeah, I will do anything. I'll try anything once, because I want them to see what is possible. And you know what's possible? Anything's possible. And that's the truth. Anything is possible. I'm not going to be a pro football player. I understand that time has passed. But as a young man, I could have worked harder. I could have trained harder, and I have to live with that regret. I don't want to live with that regret when I'm in another 20 years. So
yeah, no, anything is possible, and there's no reason to put it for tomorrow when you can do it today. But give myself credit that I'm going to do the best I can right now. That I might not get everything I plan, but I'm going to do my best to put one foot in front of the other to get there. And then I might hit a roadblock, I might hit a pothole, so I make a left or I make a right. When I decided to do stand-up comedy, I was already producing and directing. I had films under my belt. I've got 2 films that I'm still working on that were passion projects that are, they're going to get done. They're documentaries. They take a little longer. They were financed by me, and now, when you're working for other people and you're making money, you go there. But I'm going to finish that because I made a commitment to that, and I will finish that. Not in someone else's time. but in the time that it will be. So, and by the way, I have to say, someone said something recently I thought was really cool. It's those projects that sit on a shelf and wait for their time. They're not sitting there losing time. The right time sometimes catches up to those projects. But back in track, when I started to do the comedy thing, it was just for fun. It wasn't for a career. It wasn't for work. And so I was just in a different mindset that I had never been in prior when I wanted to prove myself to you as an actor, as a singer, as a dancer, as a producer, as a director. Now I'm like, I just want to do it for fun. I ended up getting a job. I was COO for a production company with Craig Shoemaker. And one day, his opener canceled at the last minute. And his assistant turned to me of 3 years and she looked at me, she's like nodding. And I'm overseeing his business and production company and directing his podcast and stuff, right? I'm like, I'm not here to do comedy. And he goes, oh yeah, Frankie, you're on, you're doing it. I'm like, on, doing it? I said, Craig, Craig Shoemaker's a legendary comedian. I said, would you like to see a tape? He said, no. She said, you're good.
You're in the right place at the right time.
And I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified and excited. And I thought, you got nothing to lose but have a good time. And 3-4 years later, now I'm opening up for Mike Marino. I'm opening up for other headliners around the country. I never imagined to be doing this and getting paid for it and having a good time.
So that's the greatest thing in the world, when you find a job that's not a job, that's something you started. I started this show in my basement because I just thought it would be cool. It was something exciting, something interesting, and that's what it was. And then it just started growing and growing and growing, and now we're here. And listen, I enjoy it. I don't care if it stays, and that's truly honest. I don't care if it stays exactly where it is because I'm happy where it is. But I'm always going to work hard, and I'm always going to put my best foot forward. I was just having a conversation with somebody today. Now, when I go do clips after the show, I pull them by hand. I pull those clips by hand, and they're saying, well, if you made more money with it, would you pay somebody? And I said, I don't think I would. I enjoy it. I enjoy creating. I enjoy doing that stuff, but it wouldn't be mine.
Well, you got a lot right here. I didn't get a close look at all these wonderful badges, but that says a lot about you right here.
The challenge coin thing is big in the first responder and the veterans world, okay? And we kind of trade them and we exchange them, and I travel a lot. I did 30 speaking dates last year, and everywhere I go, people come up and hand me coins, and I like to display them because I'm proud of them. I'm proud. It says something that somebody cares enough about me in order to say, hey, listen, remember me here by taking this. And there's Navy SEAL in there, there's FBI, ATF, there's some cool ones in there. And they're given with their heart, and that's just like my little homage to the people I've met along this way.
Like I said, that says a lot about you. That's pretty powerful. That's great.
If they only knew what kind of jerk I am.
Yeah,
So why don't you tell us about some stuff you got coming up? Yeah. I know you got some passion projects coming up, and you got some. I was reading something where you have a movie coming out, or there's something that you're producing by the only female from Ukraine.
Mm-hmm. So there's 2 projects. One is an ongoing documentary which went back on the shelf not to stop but to wait. And it's called Robert Altman Through the Lens. It's a documentary about Robert Altman, who's former chief photojournalist of Rolling Stone magazine in the late 60s and 70s.
That name. So was he in, what the heck was that movie, Cameron Crowe?
Yes. His work was actually hanging throughout that film. I was on the set with him during that shoot.
It was what was it, Almost Famous?
Almost Famous.
Almost Famous.
Yes. His work hung, and if you watch those Rolling Stone office scenes, his work is hanging in those scenes. And Robert's deceased now. He died a few years ago. But it came to be because I was touring with the Big Brother and the Holding Company band. I was singing the Janis Joplin role, so to speak, on tour.
Was it the original band?
The original band, yes. This was when I first got to Los Angeles and started singing again, as I told you earlier. And I was at a show somewhere in San Francisco, and I was invited to a party a few weeks later, and I went to the party, and I was being introduced, and I went outside, and there was this man outside. He goes, "Who are you?" I was like the youngest one at the party. I mean, they're all counterculture guys, and I'm clearly not that old, right? Clearly, right?
Clearly.
Thank you.
Clearly.
Want to make sure we're clear about that.
Well, listen, what was it like growing up in the 80s and being born, like,
yeah.
what, were you born 85, 86?
Yeah, somewhere around. I can't lie. Somewhere around there.
Okay.
So anyway, so Robert's like, who are you? And I'm like, my name's Frankie Anne. Who are you? He goes, I'm Robert Altman. And I'm like, over my head. Over my head. But later do I find out that I'm actually in the home of Timothy Leary's widow. And over my head. Again, I don't know these people, but I got to learn. And Robert and I connected. He was like, just like an old soul mentor. And then his cousin worked at Warner Brothers, and I was working at Warner Brothers, so he would come down and visit. And he was kind of mentoring me through business. I would have a problem, and he'd talk to me and had great wise words of wisdom. Anyway, fast forward, he invites me to an event. It was like some rock concert down in Long Beach with my boyfriend at the time. Not the one on Dateline, another one. And he's got all his work hanging, and he's talking to the people about his art and selling some of the art. And I'm listening to him. And I said, Robert, you've got amazing stories, amazing life behind these pictures. Has anybody ever asked you to do a documentary? He goes, no. I said, I want to do it. And I as soon as I said it, I caught myself, and I couldn't take it back. Because I don't say things I don't do.
You put them out into the universe, and then they become true.
And I don't know where it came from other than the desire to want to do this. Clearly, it was just boom. And I said, not now. I don't know when, but I'm going to think about this, and we'll talk more. Fast forward, he does an exhibit in Macy's. 200 of his photographs are blown up, huge, massive style throughout. It's the largest photographic display. Millions of people walking by in Herald Square around Macy's, in the windows, inside Macy's. Huge. He says, I want to invite you as my guest. I said, nope. Remember that documentary? We're starting it. So we started it then. It went on through the years. I sat it on the shelf because of funding, and again, it's all me. And I made a promise to him. I said, it's not done. I'm going to make it happen. And I've got some clips to show you about it. It's really, really fun stuff.
Photographers are always hiding behind speakers and maybe sneaking over our lens. We hide ourselves. We want to be part of the furniture.
This documentary takes us through the lens of Rolling Stone chief photojournalist Robert Altman, the seminal witness on the front lines of the 60s.
I couldn't wait to photograph all these people. It was just, I knew I had to keep shooting this. It was beyond snapshots.
Paul Kantner of Jefferson Airplane once said, if you can remember anything about the 60s, you weren't really there. Lucky for us, Robert Altman had his camera.
When people ask me what makes a great photographer, the first thing I say to them is, pay attention.
Altman gives us an insider's look into the 60s.
So that's one project that I'm finishing up. The other project, as you brought up, is a woman called me, a friend of mine actually called me for her, and he said, you know, Frankie, I listened to this girl's song, and she's really good, but you're the one with the ears. You've been in the music business. Would you mind spending some time and maybe talking to her? I said, sure, no problem. I love working with young talent. So I listened to it, and I said, she's Ukraine? She wrote this in English and is singing in English. He said, yes. I spoke to her. She had seen one of my other videos I directed. It was on MTV at the time in Europe. She said, I love you. I wish you could direct one of my videos. I said, oh, her name is Ulya. I said, Ulya, I would love to. I said, but there's a war going on right now. And then as soon as I said that, I had an epiphany. I said, wait a minute. I'm the one who started doing virtual direction of shows during COVID. And I stopped and I said, how's Starlink working for you? And she said, it's great. I said, Ulya, how long are you going to be in the country? She was coming to the United States for college. I said, how long are you going to be in the country? She goes, another 10 days. I said, I don't know how, but we're going to do this because this is an opportunity I want to get involved in with you. And I don't know how I'm going to finish it, but I want to start it. So we did. And the miracles that occurred, I don't know how much time we have to talk about it, unbelievable experience. Talk about not knowing what's around the corner and just allowing the universe to give you things that you did not expect to have. You're talking about bombs dropping. We're doing pre-production meetings on Zoom, and we got to go. We got to go into the shelters. Okay, we'll come back. It was surreal when I think about it. The camera, the DP that I ultimately chosen was, they're all in the Army. And he had beautiful work. And I'm like, how are you getting these beautiful fluid moves? Because music, dance, camera, I love fluidity. So he goes, I use a scooter. A scooter is this thing, this hoverboard that he stands on. The guy's 6'2" and about 250 pounds.
Like those, yeah, I know what you're
You
talking
step
about.
on it,
Yeah.
and he's got a camera on him, and and I was like, okay, this is a first. And we did it. We had 5 meetings. Not once did the computer not crash. Every time. Prepped it, wrote the script, did the work, chose the shots. I got photographs, about, 50 or 60 photographs for locations, made the choices, didn't know what I was doing, where they were located. Just happened to all be consistently, within 10 minutes of each other so that it wasn't all over the map. Start the first day. It's going to rain. My friend calls me from another country who's overlooking this. He goes, you're going to get rain. I call up 6 a.m. over there. How's the sky? Beautiful. Okay, let's start. We start, no rain. We get to a bridge. There's this beautiful bridge, and a lot of the bridges were bombed. I don't know if you remember the one that they bombed to stop the Russians from coming in. So there was one beautiful bridge, and my thing is contrasting the shots. So I said, let's get you on this beautiful red paved bridge, and we'll do a couple takes here. Just as I call it, I hear my interpreter say, bring it up, bring it. I'm like, what are you talking about? I hear the DP who doesn't speak English mumbling in the background. I'm like, what's he mad at? No, bring it up, set it up, call action. I'm like, what are you talking about? You're going to get what you wanted. You're going to get what did I want? Your people. What people? I can't understand. There is a marathon during the war of people coming down the bridge, and we grab the shot, we steal the shot as opposed to I couldn't have planned that. But I'm really excited to finish that project, and it's turning into a documentary as well because of the process in which it took to get that going and how one miracle after another and how the shots were produced. And it's just, it's big. Ulya, I did not forget you.
I like how you put things out into the universe. I believe this wholeheartedly. You put things out into the universe and somehow they happen. It happened with the documentary, it happened with dance, it happened with acting, it happened with singing, it happened with all these things. You put stuff out there. And one of my favorite stories is I didn't have a trip planned to LA. And I was telling somebody, they were asking me where I was going. And in there, I just threw LA. I wasn't lying. I misspoke, okay? I didn't do it intentionally. And sure enough, like 2 weeks later, I get booked for something in LA. I'm like, oh, okay, this is how this works. So now, when there's something that I really want to do, I will talk about it. I'm not that person that says, I don't want to talk about it because if it doesn't happen, I don't want to do it. No, I'm going to talk about it because that'll just make me want it more and make it happen a little bit more. And I see that in you. And I think that's beautiful because you got no fear. You have fear, but you ignore that fear.
No, I don't ignore it. I walk past it.
Yeah.
I face it, and I have to recognize it. I used to not pay attention to it, and it would take me down. That's not the way that I handle it now. Now it's like, okay, why am I afraid of this? What do I got to be afraid of? What do I got to lose?
So, Frankie Anne, listen, we're coming to the end of this thing here. I could sit here and talk to you all night. It was so good that I didn't even write all my notes that I wanted to write. But why don't you tell our audience where they can find you?
On Instagram, Frankie, FRANKIE, _ Anne with an E. That's ANNE, _ Productions. Wasn't thinking straight when I created that one.
You can always change it. We'll work on that. Don't worry about it. I can't thank you enough for coming in here because you have these stories that they're as fun as it is to hear your successes, because you've had multiple successes throughout the year. What I enjoyed most about sitting here talking to you is your drive and your willingness to try whatever your heart desires And I hope you continue to do that.
Oh yeah.
And I got to get out to one of your shows. I was talking to a couple. I'm like, I got to go out to one of your shows. I will be there. I'll be front row. No, let me rephrase it. I will not sit in the front row. I'll sit in the back because I don't want to be picked on.
What are you afraid of?
I'm too tall. I'm too tall to sit in the front row. And if I sneeze, or let's say I have to go to the bathroom, I can't hold my stuff anymore the way I could when I was 20. I go to the bathroom, I'm going to get picked on. No. But I am looking forward to that. Now, from the beginning of time, beginning of this show, I end the show the same way. It is my belief, and with a lot of evidence to support this, that suffering is the best teacher that we have. If we don't learn from the things that have broken us, then we're really missing an opportunity. You've had multiple times where you've rose, you fall, you rose, you fall, and you pick yourself back up each time. And I'm assuming that's coming from you learning from whatever pain and suffering that you went through. So if you had to pick something out of this life of entertainment that you have lived, any piece of suffering that has taught you the most, what do you think it would be?
Walk past the fear.
I love that.
Nothing to lose. And do it.
I enjoyed this immensely, and I have a feeling that I'm going to maintain my friendship with you because your energy is contagious.
Oh, thank you. I really enjoyed being here. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome back anytime. And that's going to do it for this episode of The Suffering Podcast, The Suffering of an Entertainer with Frankie Anne. Let's think about all the stuff that we learned. Beware of the hollow successes. Watch out for the vultures. They will circle you over and over. Love your craft. Follow your passion, and it'll make your profession take on a new life. But most importantly, walk past the fear. And that's going to do it for this episode. Don't forget to go to popple.com, put in the code TSP20 for a 20% discount on your digital business card. Follow us on all social media. That's Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, OnlyFans. Follow me at Real Kevin Donaldson, and of course, follow the Suffering Podcast. We'll see you on the next episode.